Giga Texas has a 1/4 mile framed. That's 150 football fields, and it's now 65% done. I'm Brian. Welcome to My Tesla Weekend. The rains have passed, and as expected, it's really gotten back up to speed. The footings in orange progressed slightly, but nothing too earth-shattering. Most of the gain was from recognizing some of them in the northeast casting corner that were already done, but not yet counted. The frame picked up some ground in the southwest area, and it's moving at a steady pace. We can expect a jump in this element as the northeast corner starts getting its roof beams in place. The roof got more coverings as well, but again, nothing shocking or surprising, and a lot of the progress you can actually see isn't counted directly in the tracker since the finished part of the roof counts more slowly than the initial covering. The interior work, as expected, continues to accelerate. Due to the methodology, even on days when there is nothing to add to the tracker, the interior work is now pulling up the completion of the total site by about 0.1% per day. Here's that new part of the spreadsheet you guys saw last week for the first time. This tracks how much weight is given toward interior completion based on the time that has passed since it was first recognized. Each week, it counts the number of interior squares walled off, and the following week begins counting 1/16 of them toward the final count. So those 6 squares counted on the March 1st update will be fully realized next week, the week just below that dividing line. In order to be done in time, they'll need to get all the footings poured by July 26th. So there are about 201 footings left to be poured. So that's 4.8 they would need to finish every single day for the next 42 days. Do you think they can do that? That's faster than they've been going lately, but the weather hasn't been cooperating and the forecast does look a lot more promising now. What do you think? The next dividing line on August 23rd would be the deadline to get all the walls up in order to hit the 100% completion target by the first week of December, which also seems a bit optimistic, if I'm being honest. Do you think they can get all the roofs and walls up in the next 10 weeks? If you want to get deeper into the methodology used to track the site, check out some of the earlier videos in the series, but if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask them. And for that matter, if you have answers, don't be afraid to respond to those questions. Just be nice to each other in the comments. That's all I ask. As the summer moves on, we'll see what the actual pace of footings does to the math and add a new element to the tail end with an additional bit tacked on as needed to account for the long, slow tail of interior work, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. So let's take a look at the sitemap for this week and get on to the timeline predictions, but spare me 6 short seconds to thank my Patreons who get early access, bonus material, and keep the channel running for as little as $1 a month. YouTube famously pays F all to content producers, and your generous support is what actually ensures I can keep going. So let's take a look at the sitemap as of today and roll it back to December 14th, when the tracker was first launched, and roll through it week by week. There was very little information to go on in the early days, so there have been adjustments over time. The orange represents the footings, with the darker orange representing deeper or heavier ones. The gray indicates framing work. The darker gray indicates a first layer of roofing. The blue indicates walls have been put up, so the interior area can begin its count. The darker the blue, the more floors there are. The black lines indicate firewalls or expansion joints, with the heavier ones outlining the concrete areas. That is looking so good. As a reminder, this only counts the main Emerald building and not any of the other projects on the site, since we haven't been able to determine their eventual size. as of today, Giga Texas, the future birthplace of Yo Cybertruck, is 65% done and will be complete, for lack of a better word, in a total of 508 days from groundbreaking on or about December 11th of this very year. This one-day slip in the timeline from last week isn't cause for alarm, since I'm actually using Sunday's footage to count the progress instead of Monday's in order to get this out in a more timely fashion. It's mostly a 2-floor structure, as you can see, and now has a total of almost 7.2 million square feet framed up, which is 666,000 square meters. That's a quarter mile framed up. That's 150, some very oddly shaped football fields. And it's only a-getting bigger. As a reminder, this building does not have to reach 100% before trial production begins, and customer deliveries could start well before December, since so much of the interior work has been taking place over the last 3 months plus. There are, again, no updates to the Bob Gatto area, nor the potential Starlink site to the west of the highway, because crews have only just returned to work there in the past week. As those get back to visible progress, the tracking in those areas will resume. So what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me all that wisdom or even conjecture in the comments below, and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.